Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my obeisances. So we are reading from Shrimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 20.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Существо Прабху, прочитай, пожалуйста, санскрит.
Please read the Sanskrit.
Десять, 20, 19.
10.20.19.
Мы прочитаем перевод.
And let's read the translation. During the rainy season, the moon was prevented from appearing directly by the covering of the clouds, which were themselves illuminated by the moon's rays. Similarly, the living being in material existence is prevented from appearing directly by the covering of the false ego, which is itself illuminated by the consciousness of the pure soul. This is a very interesting text today. So we are being supported by Krishna, and material nature is being supported by Krishna. Material nature does not reveal Krishna with a certain purpose. There's a meaning to it. There's a reason why people reject or accept God. There's an inner sense or meaning of this being. And Bhagavatam reveals this inner, sacred meaning. It lays beyond the analysis, deep in the soul of the living being, hidden in its nature, and going more in detail, it's hidden in its relationship with matter, with the energies of God. But at the same time, it does not want to have any relationship with God. It's interesting. Even though it recognizes God, it's still, the living being still lives in his own settlements he's making, or customs. It's giving the names to its new generation. It studied the laws of nature by itself, giving all the names and determination, and so it would seem like it lives separately from the God. This is the way it goes away from the Lord. In the spiritual world, it's all dependent on God and always serving the Lord. But in material world, it's more like a temporary ritual. The morning ritual is like morning readings of Bhagavatam, and later it has some other things to do. But the ultimate goal of Shrimad Bhagavatam is of this Krishna consciousness movement is to engage any person into this service 24/7. It's not like everyone is being engaged in the mission right away, but at least gradually in the beginning, life after life, a personality, even during the life of Brahma, the personality is going back home, back to Godhead. But in material world, people usually give a certain time to the Lord. The rest they use for their own creation or for their own things, and as a result they either thankful to God or vice versa, and with the time they go away from the Lord more and more, and there would be some time when he wouldn't even mention the Lord or have no definition about him. So let's read the purport by Srila Prabhupada. It's not Prabhupada's commentary, by the way. It's disciples. The analogy given here is excellent. During the rainy season, we cannot see the moon in the sky because the moon is covered by clouds. These clouds, however, are radiant with the glow of the moon's own rays. Similarly, in our conditioned material existence, we cannot directly perceive the soul because our consciousness is covered by the false ego, which is the false identification with the material world and the material body. So this is the power of Ahankara, the false ego. The most fine element, material element, is more like a node of matter and spirit. The rest is the revelation. The rest is the revealment of Ahankara. So if you cut that node, then it would be revealed or liberated. No matter what we do, we think we are this body. In theory, we understand we are not this body. But as far till I have this body, I still will be connected to it. It's just like trying to pull out the tree out of the dirt. We've been reading from the history, learning from the history that in order to make a field, you need to get rid of all the trees on that ground. And first you cut those trees, but you still need to deal with the roots. And even though you have the land, you have some space, but still these roots need to be burned out and cut out and dug out. So this ego lies very deep, and our material body is outside, external. It can change, it goes through changes, our nails are growing and hair is growing. And we might observe it and say we're not this body, but the more we're there, it is hard to distinguish the mind from oneself. And Ahankara is really also transcendental, but because material mind is transcendental, but because of it's covered by Ahankara, we cannot really distinguish it from oneself, from the minds and everything. So whatever we are feeling is the mind. In the Krishna consciousness, we should know that all these feelings we have, it's because the soul has, and it's not the mind is transcendental, but the soul is transcendental. I'm sorry, wrong before. So this is just like the clouds covering the moon, but still it would carry the light of the moon. And it seems nice and pretty. The scenery, the full moon, you can see in the middle of the night, and this light is coming you down. The moon has its own thing to be present. But sometimes we say, there is a man, he came to ISKCON, and he got his knowledge from spiritual master from ISKCON, and then he left this in order to join Gaudiya Math, or he would settle himself on Radhakund. So first he's getting the knowledge from Prabhupada, and then he would start to hide Srila Prabhupada and say, I am spiritual advanced now, and he starts to hide his teacher. So just like those clouds, the moonshine, the light of the moon is hidden by the clouds, but the clouds seems to be enlightened. Just like when you deal with an old devotee, he's full of this bliss and of light, but at the same time we need to understand he's not equal to the spiritual master. We should think it like way. He's not equal to acharyas, even though he's advanced. So he needs to suppress this false identification, self-identification. When you deal with these clouds, you need to be careful. You need to continue to ask questions. Sometimes the senior devotees, it seems like they know everything, but still they cannot cooperate. It's just the light of Hankara. Very fine light, just like the moonlight. Those senior devotees, they preaching well, they chanting holy names, they can cry for Lord Chaitanya, but still they need to go further. They need to understand there would be no time in this material world when they reach this. And there is a risk becoming a Kanishka again. Madhyam, he's shining like the sun, but he never has these thoughts that he's in need of someone else's advices. He's no need in someone's advices. Even in his disciples, he sees that he needs to be a learner. He needs to continue this study, otherwise he will be very proud. And he would fall. So the purport goes on. As the Gita describes, the energy of the soul is consciousness. And when this consciousness manifests through the screen of false ego, it appears as dull material consciousness, in which there is no direct vision of the soul or God. In the material world, even great philosophers ultimately resort to hazy, ambiguous deities when speaking about the absolute truth. Just as the cloudy sky manifests only in a dull and indirect way the iridescent light of the moon. When people are talking about God in general, there would be some power hidden in these words. Sometimes they gather together, even without reading from Holy Scriptures, and they talk about the God. And they say, do you have the faith in God? Even these talks have some of this light of the moon, because by means of the mind they address in the Lord, and in this process there is some deepness, there's some depth. But still, it's not enough of this light to change its life. So people would change their habits for better. People trying to get purified from the sins, but still they are not able to change their life. If there was more light, more power, we would see that we don't need any of this sinful activity, because we are not dependent on it. We have enough. If you turn on the light, you would see that you live in a palace, decorated. It's an elaborate palace. It's all decorated with jewels and stuff. Because we are not poor. It seems like we are poor in the darkness. Krishna is not a poor person. We don't see our heritage. This is darkness. This soft light of the moon is just like when a person is trying to speculate about God. You still have this unclear understanding. Once I've been talking to this Orthodox priest, and he asked me, why don't you accept this Orthodox way? Why don't you study from Bible? I said, well, I'm not against it, and or praying to Jesus, but the reason I accepted Krishna consciousness is because there's so much knowledge about God, and Christianity doesn't provide me with the knowledge of God. And he said, well, we have a lot of the information about God. We have a lot of monks who been describing the God and having philosophic texts. And he said, well, maybe I don't know something. Please give me some of it. And he said, yes, there was such a guy, and he gave me the name, and he said, the God is light, and material matter is darkness. And I thought, yeah, that's a good start. It's similar. Why should we accept Krishna consciousness if it's just the same? If you continue in the same way, then it's like the darkness and light, and it's all clear philosophically. And people can join it around these definitions. The God is light, or sun, and Prabhupada was saying just the same. And matter is darkness, ignorance. This is good. I was amazed. And he said, the God is not light nor darkness. And I thought, well, if he is nor darkness or nor light, what is he? Then you cross the light, you cross the darkness. What is it? He said, and God is something, is more like a dawn. It's something in between, the mystical dawn, he said. That was the concept. And I thought, no, probably I would continue to read from the Bhagavad Gita. Because you can go for ages talking about these mystical objects and stuff, and because it's not nor light, nor neither darkness, it would be all unknown, achintya, achintya. So these are the definitions that they have, and of course there is some logic to it, but the God, you cannot perceive God by this way, by logic, or making it, seeing it somewhere in between. There is no way you can perceive it this way. You cannot perceive it actually, only if He is revealing Himself. Then it is possible. In order for Him to reveal Himself for you, actually it is said that Narayan wouldn't speak to a man. And you cannot reveal Him through the experiments or questioning and answering. First you need to spiritualize your feelings. And then get this buddhi, the intelligence, spiritualized intelligence. Then that way you're gonna have this tool. The God is not speaking to a man in this level. So first you need to spiritualize your feelings, to purify your feelings. Then the God can be revealed in front of you, if, in case He wants to be revealed. And Prabhupada is saying that there will be many, many lifetimes, and the soul would get through a lot of bodies. So it gets this experience of and a feeling the God. It is very rare in this material world that someone is meeting the pure devotee of the Lord, and he would share with him his thoughts and ideas, feelings. And then Prabhupada was asked by his disciples, if it's mercy, if the God's mercy, why is it that one is getting this mercy and another one doesn't? Even when he's speaking to certain devotee, pure devotee of the Lord, he wouldn't get into it right away. Why is it not equal? And then Prabhupada said that there is sukriti besides it. It's like the amount of activities in goodness. And some of the people, they might not have enough of this sukriti. You need to commit a lot of good things. That is called sukriti. But then the disciple says, if the mercy is unconvincible, then why do we have this? And Prabhupada kept on saying, explaining, and disciple would say, but the mercy has no reason. Why is it still we need this sukriti? And Prabhupada said, you're gonna be amazed by this fact. We might even break down this, stop this transmission. Prabhupada said, it's a great secret, it's just for the Yekaterinburg. And only for the senior devotees. In the end he said, Krishna is choosing his partner in the end. It's up to him to decide. Krishna is a big problem. I want to become a pure devotee. It doesn't work this way. Krishna says, no, I'm not agree with it. He says, Maya is telling me you've got a lot of anarthas. You have so many desires. You're gonna come here, you're gonna look at me, and then you're gonna leave. But I want you to go back home, back to Godhead for good. So Krishna knows all these fine elements. He can get into this inside of this little jiva. He knows everything. So in this case, we have this situation. It's up to Krishna. It's up to us to practice, to be in the process. But then Krishna might think to accept us or not. And we still hope. Someone might ask if he wouldn't ever like to give us liberation. But we still need to have this hope. If he says, you will never get this liberation, we still need to continue to practice. And seeing that, he will give us the liberation. If we are thinking about ourselves this way, that I am no good for you, but still I will continue to serve you. I am your servant, no matter what. I will try my best. I am a rascal, but I'm your rascal. I'm your rascal. Then Krishna would have a problem. He would think what to do. He's so sticky. And I remember the beggars in India. They're so humble. They're asking all the time. At first you say, no, 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 very seriously. But with the time, you even try to push him, but he's becoming more humble and more humble. And then with the time, you're like, okay, take it, whatever you want. Here you go. It could be a material example, of course. It has a lot of faults, but the process is so much better. It's unimaginably better. Krishna is so kind. Everything he does comes out of his kindness. Even when he rejects, there is a great plan of his behind it. And ahankara is just like a light of the moon. It pushes us away from the path. And it gives us this understanding that I am Krishna, I am the enjoyer, I am the proprietor. But it's up to Krishna if I am a devotee or not. Someone would say, I'm living this Krishna consciousness. But no way. It's up to Krishna whether you're living or not. He has his final word. And where he's sending such a person outside or inside Krishna consciousness, it's up to him. There are some examples that people are saying, I'm living, I cannot stand it anymore here in ISKCON, but still they're here and they serving in ISKCON. So if we are still in this movement, in this Lord Chaitanya's mission, Prabhupada's mission, it means that Krishna have decided something upon us, about us. We just need to appreciate it. It's a very rare, deep appreciation, the mercy. We should understand that we already received it. The one who understand, realize this connection on a deepest level, he will be very appreciative to Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada, his spiritual master, that he would say, I am your eternal servant, I will never pay you back. I'm your eternal servant. And Krishna might even be agreed to this. If Krishna is agreed, then we don't really need to do any efforts anymore. In this way, you will have no obstacles. Otherwise, because you would say, I'm your eternal servant. There is nothing else I can do. I am your eternal servant. It's just, of course we are these eternal servants, but because of the light of the moon, of the Ahankara, we are still thinking that we are like the dominator and enjoyer. And we have this association with the devotees in order to get rid of this false understanding. And it's not, it doesn't hurt to get rid of Ahankara. Lord Chaitanya gave us this instruction. We need to chant. It should be congregational chanting, and this way we don't have any enemies or friends. Everybody's in ecstasy. So, in material life, we continue to read from the purport. Our false ego is often enthusiastic, hopefully and apparently aware of various material affairs, and such consciousness encourages us to push on in material existence. But in the truth, we are merely experiencing the Tao reflection of our original pure consciousness, which is Krishna consciousness. Direct perception of the soul and God, not realizing that the false ego merely hampers and dulls our real spiritual consciousness, which is fully enlightened and blissful. We mistakenly think that material consciousness is full of knowledge and happiness. This is comparable to thinking that the luminous clouds are lighting up the night sky, while in fact it is the moonshine that illuminates the sky, and the clouds that merely dull and hamper the moonshine. From time to time I paint, and I will give you an example of this. We take just the materials, like a set of colors. It is very often that I receive gifts from people with colors. Now I have a little store of these artistic goods. With the time, I'll probably start to sell these things and I will become rich. So you take these colors. It's just a material, and it's only can be appreciated by the artist or painter. You have this color is so superb, this color is so nice, this yellow, it's nice, it's vivid, yeah. But for ordinary people, it's just, well, it's just a color. But this painter, this artist, he sees already something he makes with it. And he thinks, oh, you can get into these shades and colors, and what do you think we appreciate seeing a picture, a painting? We're not being excited by seeing these colors, by its vividness. No, we are being excited through the painter's work, through his vision. When we see his picture, we see him, the creator. So it's just the same. When we are excited about this creation of the material world, we are not being excited by this air and water and whatever. We are excited by the creation, because if we are in Krishna consciousness and we are chanting, this it could reflect on the objects we see, just like the moonlight shines on them. And we see that those guys who are chanting next to us, they're not as bad anymore. And even this flat and this place I'm living is it looks much better after I've chanted. It seems like it changed, but no, it's still the same, but our consciousness, your consciousness has changed. It became closer to Ananda, to bliss. So in the end, you will see the creator behind this material creation. It still reflects, this Maya still reflects some of the creator's features. So we say, this furniture is great, this house is great, this person is great, it's so beautiful. No. We should still remember, this beauty was borrowed from Krishna, just like the moonlight is being borrowed by the clouds. If you turn off the moon, the clouds wouldn't project the light. If there is no Krishna, we won't be able to see the beauty in this world. We can become a killer in this world, a murderer. Imagine, and doing bad things, and we won't be able to understand these things. In fact, the sky is being enlightened by the moon, and the clouds just covering it. This is comparable to thinking that the luminous clouds are lighting up the night sky, while in fact it is the moonshine that illuminates the sky. The clouds appear luminous because they are filtering and impeding the brilliant rays of the moon. Similarly, at times material consciousness appears pleasurable or enlightened because it is screening or filtering the original, blissful and enlightened consciousness coming directly from the soul. If we can understand the ingenious analogy given in this verse, we can easily advance in Krishna consciousness. So how do we practically develop this consciousness? Every day we're going to deal with this duality. The moment we pay attention to this material nature and people around us, immediately we're going to be placed in this duality thing. Something we are in need of, and something we don't need. Something is pleasant for us, and something is not pleasant. It's all the time our feelings are in this duality. This is its nature. So later we're gonna call this duality by the words good and bad, and later we would say this is very good and this is very bad. And we would say this is upsetting, or this is unfair. And that would be our lifestyle. It's all gonna be in our mind, and by these thoughts gonna hide our real nature. And all this experience of the good and bad feelings gonna hide Krishna consciousness from us. That's why we're chanting mantra, in order to be liberated from this experience, from this. If you feel yourself offended, chant the mantra attentively. If you do it attentively, then you will be able to overcome the need to criticize someone, the need to be offended. The Guru gave you Krishna. He gave you mantra. Everything is possible for you now. If you do it attentively, you're gonna overcome all the coverings by ahankara. The inclination to lie, to be envious, the inclination to be greedy, or think that someone is treating me unfairly, this rejection of the world. You need to overcome, to fight this battle in your mind. Beyond all these good and bads, there is a moon shining for us with the absolute good of Krishna consciousness. Even by the bad things, you still get the good experience in the Krishna consciousness. Because it's gonna go one after another one. The good comes after the bad, and it's gonna be like that. Don't think like that it's gonna stop on the moment that you like the most. But you always need to add, etc., etc. Continue, to be continued. You have the good time, you need to say to be continued. You have the bad times, you need to say to be continued. Just like in this material world, sometimes it's cloudy and rainy, sometimes there's sunshine, good weather, bad weather, to be continued. Then we need to understand it and just calm down. Beyond all this, there is an unlimited goal of life. It is giving us everything we want. So we are being beneath the clouds, and we need to be elevated from the duality level beneath the clouds to this positive world, cloudless world, spiritual world. Such a concentration is called samadhi, deep happiness state. There is no such happiness in the material world. So you concentrate your mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In order to do that, you need to understand how good is He, how good He is. We will not concentrate our mind on bad. So we've discussed one verse from Shrimad Bhagavatam 10.20.19, the rainy season and autumn in Vrindavan. Very beautiful, elaborate text. It was a 19th text. Please, any additions or commentaries or questions? Dear devotees, please raise your hand, and if you would like to ask questions, we're gonna have to split this time between those who are watching online and those who are participating in this meeting. Our mind is Anirudh, and intelligence is Pradyumna. So how do we apply this knowledge in order to perform the devotional service? Actually, this thing can be explained very good by Vasudeva Prabhu, because from time to time I forget this knowledge about Chaturvyuha, but he can write a great work about this Chaturvyuha thing, and so please listen to this. It's for the senior devotees. Actually, you see, just because I was talking so much about this Chaturvyuha thing, people are getting more and more questions. So just try to remind me this once again. Sankarshan and Vasudev. Vasudev is consciousness. It's contaminated consciousness. It's coming from the soul. It's still shining. then Sankarshan is Ahankara, the false ego. When it's mixing, these two are mixing, then the pradyumna is being revealed, the mind, intelligence. And there are some methods that Bhagavatam is giving us, authoritative methods, that we can go in backwards. If we can be liberated from the duality by Chaturyuga, studying Chaturyuga. So that way we know that we cannot do this with Krishna this way. We cannot be liberated. Chaturyuga will not help us. Yamahladini, here's the answer for you. Chaturyuga is not our tool. We need a holy name. Why do we need to chant Hare Krishna? It's just because it's a method for the most ignorant people, for those rascals, like Prabhupada was saying, who have no idea in this Vedic literature. But this is the most powerful tool, the purest. There are no strict rules for chanting. And Chaitanya Charitamrita is giving us this. Well, because if we are intellectual, and in order to get to this way, to the liberation, but this way, when you chant Hare Krishna, you're always blissful. You don't need to have all this knowledge. But for some people who are very analytical, then it is helpful. We need to understand philosophy more and more, deeper and deeper. Like we know who Sankarshan is, and material. We know that he is the source of material world, and in the spiritual world he is a Balaram. And by understanding the relationship between Balaram and Krishna, our Ahankara, the false ego, is going to be destroyed completely. Because
невероятно, сколько экспансии, сколько энергии, вот из такой вот формы, казалось бы, да, небольшой сладкой формы, которой можно дружить, влюбляться можно в него,
this form
или нянчить на руках и так далее.
It's so tiny.
А первая экспансия,
And the first expansion is Balaram,
что это такое?
Mahasankarshan. This is Krishna himself. But Krishna in the form of Balaram is unlimited. He is limitless with all the paravyoms, all the spaces, and all the living entities, and all the supporting powers. Everything is in there. But the thing is not in this. Because why do we need Krishna if Balaram is even bigger than Krishna in this way? But Balaram is always thinking that he is the servant of the Krishna. When we are capable of understanding this relationship, we will be liberated from Ahankara. And then the Vasudeva and Sankarshan and Pradyumna and Anirudh, they are all for different creations. Periods. In spiritual world there's Mahasankarshan, and material world has Sankarshan, the snake, the Shesha, unlimited, supporting all the worlds. And then there is a transformation of 4 expansions. That way we have this creation, and it stands on these 4 posts. It helps our understanding of Krishna consciousness. There are many expansions in this material world. That's why we studied to have the idea of its greatness. So we chant the holy name with the understanding of its greatness.
непростой,
the
необычный человек.
the glory of Krishna.
Привыкнуть, что
So we
духовная
don't
форма и это просто человеческая
so
форма.
we don't forget that Krishna,
Столько всего там,
in the shape of the human,
ограниченные силы.
it's human form with two hands. It's not human.
Это практическое применение
It's divine.
да, для нашего сознания.
So this is the applicable
Сагара Махарадж,
thing
Верховный
for
Харибол.
us. Sagar Maharaj, please accept my obeisances. Hare Krishna Chaitanya Chandra Charan prabhu. I'm glad to see you. It's very interesting lecture. In the beginning, you were talking about your a dialogue with the priest, Orthodox priest. And for them, that the main understanding of God is Achintya. And when we were in Asia, bringing the project of interconnection between the religion, and it was interesting that one time, one moment in the history of Indonesia, they decided they need to have the belief, the faith in monotheistic God. So they wanted to provide this one God. But some of the organizations who were not monotheistic, they didn't want to accept this one unified God. And it was interesting that Hinduism was getting into this. And Hindu, they were fighting between each other, and when they realized that because they are fighting, pretending like the God is not the one, they're gonna close us down. So as soon as they understood it, they decided that the God is Achintya. After fearing of being closed, they decided there is one God we are all worshipping, and his name is Achintya. That's what in Indonesia Hinduism they give the name for God. It's Achintya. That's a great step for them. And they depict him nor man nor woman. It's something in between. But I have a question. You were talking with this priest. Did you ask him if they have any descriptions of personality of God in this? Because I've heard that they had this. No, I didn't ask that priest, but we've been talking about this, and actually in the New Testament you can find in the Song of Solomon or David, it says that the God has this white skin with the blurry with this red cheeks, and but they are given this poetic form. The soul is comparing to the young beautiful girl, Justine, and there is a hint of its attraction. There are such moments, but it's hard to say this is science. It's more like allegory, more like comparison. They're comparing. So it's they're more like giving you some food for your fantasy to fantasize your own. But we need these philosophical proofs, Sankhya. When we give Sankhya to people, they they're very interested in it.
Больше не слышал ничего.
I didn't hear anything else about it.
Спасибо.
Okay, I see.
Я еще
Thank you.
слышал от
Another thing I've heard
священника, что
from one priest
Иоанн
that
Златоуст прославлял
Иоанн,
Кришну,
um,
Верховного Господа,
he was
но
glorifying Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead,
вряд ли.
but
Здесь я не нашел.
we can hardly find anywhere
И навряд ли они появятся
in the
когда-нибудь.
open sources. Even though maybe someone will reveal it, it will be taken away. I wonder if you
Даже в
met
русских
something
ведах есть разрешение.
in this. Well, even in Russian Vedas there's Krishna.
Тщательно. Традиции следят,
It is being hidden,
сбивать с толку своих последователей. Они не могут
so their
избежать
disciples
знания,
wouldn't be
пока не могут.
misled,
Они боятся таких противоречий. Они иногда
and
собираются
they
в
don't
храме
want to
закрытым,
give
чтобы
any of this.
скрыть какие-то вещи,
So
чтобы
sometimes they gather
держать
together and
религию,
trying
чтобы
to
сохранить, и ради этого идут на всё.
hide
Потому что
the
не знают, как
information
связать и правду. Скажем,
about
Кришна,
Krishna
Христа, как связать эти вещи.
because they don't know how to connect
На что
Krishna
мы
and
смотрим?
Jesus Christ.
На материальном уровне это не
We
сработает.
also don't know how to
Поэтому как
connect
бы
it in a
как
material
существует,
level.
должны, поскольку это
That's
разные
why we need all the
народы,
confessions,
из разных групп
because
абсолютно.
material nature consists of the
Да,
different
понятно,
modes of
но дух
nature.
вот этот, истинный дух установить можно
But
постепенно.
we still need to establish
Дух
this
служения, дух
same
служения, да, если все последуют
spirit
своей религии, мир изменится в тот же день, говорится.
of
Все
service.
последуют своей религии, не надо объединяться.
If everyone is following his own religion,
Просто следовать своей религии, ей нужно вдохновлять.
and he is inspired to follow his own religion, then there would be no problem. Allah would be
Нормально будет.
good for everyone, and Jesus would be good for everyone.
Спасибо за вопросы.
Thank you
Прочитаю
for
сейчас
questions.
вопросы из онлайна.
There will be some questions from the
Первый вопрос.
chat
Получается,
online.
изначально нематериален.
So the mind is not
Влияние
material
ложного
in
эго.
the
И что значит
in
ум
originally.
как проявление Кришны?
And what is mind as a
Анирудха, да,
revelation
это
of
божество
Krishna?
ума,
Anirudh is the
источника
God of the mind.
Анирудха.
He is the source of the
Любая
mind.
энергия изначально духовна.
Any energy from the
Источник духовен всех энергий.
from the
Всё на самом деле
original
духовно, Прабхупада говорит.
is
Но
spiritual.
через
Just like
Аханкару
Prabhupada
происходит
was saying,
трансформация.
it's all spiritual. But because of Ahankara, we have this transformation, and when we are saying matter, it's ignorance. And in a person, that would be just like Ahankara, but in all other
Бездумное
living
существование
entities,
побуждением чувств,
it
допустим,
would be an
побуждение чувств, инстинктов.
ignorant existence
Где-то проявляется
driven by the
материя,
feelings.
которая вообще не обладает
In
ничем.
some places, it's being revealed by, like, manifested like matter.
Берем кусок земли, говорим,
You
вот
take
это
a piece of dirt and we say this is
мы о невежестве
ignorance.
говорим. Вот просто земля.
and
Ну, а как
people
это
need
невежество?
still
Потому
to
что изначально
understand
всё
that
живое.
it's
Изначально
they
всё
say
духовное.
it's just
Когда мы
dirt,
понимаем,
but
что изначально есть духовный источник, тогда
originally
понятно, что вот
it's
это
all
вот
spiritual.
невежество.
Even
Он не проявляет сознание, чувств, восприятия, ответа. Нет. Вот это мы называем невежеством. В человеке
we call it
находится
ignorance
ложное самомнение, аханкара.
just because this piece of dirt has
Я
no
чувствую
feelings
лучше, чем есть
or
на самом деле.
reactions
То есть я
whatsoever.
могу себе представлять гораздо лучше, чем есть на самом деле.
But talking about man, this is ahankar. Ahankar means
Вот. А
I
изначально
want
всё
to treat
духовно.
myself
Ум,
as a
который
better
связан с Кришной, он
person.
духовен. Он становится как бы проводником в духовный мир.
Mind is
Но вот сейчас, смотрите, ум это я.
spiritual.
Вот сейчас каждый может
For
сказать,
now,
«Я
mind
себя
is me,
хорошо».
and I
Вот
identify
это
myself
отождествляется
with
умом,
this
но многие
mind.
отождествляются умом.
Not so many people identify themselves
И
with the
тогда
mind,
мы
but
должны действовать по диктовку ума,
in order
который
to
вот нас направляет
go
на
this
определенную
path,
систему.
we need
Это
to
функции материальные. Вот это материальная
get the
функция.
instructions of the mind.
А что
to
такое
get the
духовный ум?
enjoyments.
Тот же самый ум, но он уже действует
But this is
по-другому.
material. But what is spiritual? You're still using this mind, same mind. The mind says, the mind is taking you by your hand when you say, I want
При помощи ума
to get to Krishna,
продвигаться,
so by means of the mind, you
при
can
помощи ума.
be advancing
То есть
in
сама
Krishna
материальная энергия
consciousness.
предоставляет нам возможность
This same material energy will give you the
благости,
tools
дает
to
возможность
get
освобождения
to
от
Krishna,
И
because it's the mode of nature.
Раджа связывает, а
The
саттва
goodness.
освобождает.
Sattva is liberating
Он просто вас
you.
берет за руку и ведет. Он знает.
So the mind is taking you by your hand and is leading your way to
А
Krishna.
материально он ведет в
That
обратную
is
сторону,
spiritual.
объектом чувства
And
побуждения.
in material world,
И
it
всё,
takes
во власть
you
как бы раджаса и тамаса.
in the opposite direction, towards Rajas and Tamas.
Ну, примерный ответ.
So this is like
Спасибо большое, Гуру Махарадж. И еще один вопрос из онлайна.
this answer is
Прослушав огромное
more or
количество
less.
лекций, прочитав кипу книг и наполнив сосуд своего мозга до предела, у преданного так и не загорается сердце жить миссии ИСКОН, чего не
After
достает.
reading so many books and listening to lectures, why
Это хорошая
the
гьяна,
devotee's heart is
хорошая
still
гьяна,
not in the
здорово,
mission?
что человек прочитал много книг,
This is very good that you have this
много усилий совершал,
this
получил
jnana,
Но гьяна есть недостаток.
but this jnana has one
Гьяна
fault.
не понимает вайшнавского поведения.
It does not understand Vaishnava's
Поведение
behavior,
не понимает.
the devotee's
Поэтому им трудно
behavior.
оставаться в ISKCON.
That's why it is hard for them to stay in ISKCON.
Преданный, говорится,
The
чистый
devotee, the pure
преданный,
devotee,
он мягкий, как
is soft
лотос, как роза,
as lotus or
жесткий,
rose
как молния, одновременно. То и другое
petals,
Как гьяне,
and
если
at the
не
same
крепко,
time he's really firm.
если его концепцию не разделяют,
For
очень
Jnani,
глубоко страдает.
it's not like that. If his conception of
Правильно
life
рассуждает. Но если
is
концепцию
not
не
understood by
разделяет,
someone else,
он сильно страдает.
he is suffering so much.
Почему преданные так ко мне относятся?
Why the devotees are
Нужно
treating me
понять,
like
почему
this?
преданные так относятся
You need to understand why the devotees are
к
treating you
поведению
like this.
преданного.
He needs to
Вот это
understand
может
them.
только увидеть именно преданный, поведение
Only the
преданного,
devotee can see
как
the
преданный.
devotee's behavior. Jnani cannot understand it.
Спасибо, Гуру Махарадж.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Читание Сева Прабху задает
Chaitanya
вопрос.
Sab would like to ask a question.
Смиренные поклоны, Хари Кришна. Можно ли ученику развивать с духовным учителем близкие отношения? И что
Is it
может
okay
близкие
for the
отношения с
disciple
учителем?
to have close relationship with this spiritual master,
Именно духовные.
spiritual
Они могут быть
connection?
материальные отношения близкие.
No, it is very good question. You don't need to
Если мы хотим
develop
отношения с духовным
material
человеком,
connection with the spiritual master,
духовным
close connection. But
это
spiritual
должны быть
connection with the
глубокие
spiritual
отношения.
master.
Глубокие,
This is what you need to
нужно сделать их очень близкими,
deepen in deepen.
но духовными.
You need to make it spiritual.
Что это означает, и вопрос, да? Что
And what does it mean?
поделился,
Another
преданный
question.
как-то поделился
Yes.
этим опытом все, что
I would like
что думает и
all the
старается,
devotees,
означает.
the senior devotees, to share their opinion. What does it mean to have a close relationship with the spiritual master?
Можно всем как-то поучаствовать.
All of you can participate.
Читань Чандра, я хочу сказать Ратнавати.
Вижу.
Chaitanya Chandra Charan. I would like to.
Харе Кришна.
Харибол.
Это значит, да, мои поклоны, пожалуйста, примите.
Please accept my obeisances, and Sagar Maharaj and
Это
all the
значит, я не
devotees.
манипулирую духовным
Please accept
учителем.
my. It
У меня
means
одно единственное желание доставить учителю.
I would like to please my spiritual master. All I do is with one idea in order to please him.
Слуга, это господин, он меня как объект моего служения, и у меня нет желания от него что-то получать, а желание доставлять ему удовольствие, чтобы он был доволен, это...
It means I don't have any idea
быть с духовным
to
учителем.
get something from my spiritual master, but I am here to serve him
Что там готовишь?
always.
Но если мы что-то хотим от духовного учителя...
It's very nice. But what are you cooking there? I'm cooking for the deities.
Твои сокровенные
I'm
отношения
cooking
к духовному учителю.
sweets for the deities. This is your relationship with Guru, actually.
Время читания Чандра Чаран.
Yeah, you know, it's just because the time is flying so fast.
Вчера вечером,
And while you listen to the classes
да, очень быстро всё.
and you sit doing nothing, it's no good. So I'm doing something and I listen.
Ну что же еще? Ну что? Вот оно и сокровенное, хоть он рядом, хоть он далеко.
It doesn't matter if the
Нету
spiritual
ничего, это
master is
служение,
close or
это
far
знание того,
away.
что духовный
This
учитель
is
И мне кажется, даже если он далеко, может
your
быть далеко, может это
understanding that you need to
но
be
он все равно
engaged
рядом.
always
Его
in something that
наставление это
is
единственное, о чем
satisfying
живет
him.
ученик.
So,
Поэтому
and his
это
instructions is the main
нет
thing
никаких
that
спекуляций,
it's a lifeline
Здорово,
for
здорово.
я что
disciple.
думаю.
Кто еще? Добавляйте.
Wonderful. What else?
Я
Someone else can.
Так как у меня таких внешних близких отношений,
Because I don't have any close relationship with the spiritual master and he's far away. I try to see everything that is going around me is the influence of my spiritual master. So everything is the manifestation of him.
Кто еще хочет?
Who else wants to speak?
Можно сказать, Хари Кришна, Чандра Чаран прабhu, Дикша Бхагавата. Я бы хотела сказать так, что я заметила, когда я спрашивала у Гуру Махараджа,
When I was asking my Guru Maharaj,
что я могу сделать в
what can I
такой
do for you
ситуации?
in this? What can I do in this situation? That's he was giving me the direct instructions. And when I would fulfill his tasks, he would be very pleased. And at the same time, he would be pleased when I would cooperate with someone in order to get. I remember one time I was getting the donation from everyone, and I gave him this sum, and he was very happy receiving it because I said it is from all of us.
Я могу дополнить чуть-чуть, а потом можно...
I would like to add something, and then we'll continue.
Да, из того, что я сейчас слышал от преданных.
So, in order to find some
Реализации отношений с духовным учителем. Я бы сейчас
facts,
сравнил, да, эти отношения с...
the relationship with the spiritual master, I would compare it with flying
Доверяете пилоту.
on a plane. You trust your pilot.
Поэтому вы спокойно находитесь в самолете.
That's why you're sitting calmly in a plane.
Имеете такую веру в духовного учителя.
When you have this faith in the spiritual master, you come and imagine yourself doubting in the pilot. You won't be able to fly nicely. All your flight time, you will be worried. So in this material world, people, they have no trust in anyone. They are always cautious. We are always looking for some tricks. Even unknowingly, people can make mistakes. So this example is very good. When we are flying on the plane, we don't even see this pilot. But we have this faith that the plane is going the way it should, because there is a pilot. So this trust, absolute calm trust, and we can be happy having this trust. We see through the illuminator, the bullseye, we see the Himalayas flying to India. If we have no such a faith, we won't be able to pay attention to this beautiful scenery in our life. And Guru is giving us this faith. So this is one of the examples in order to feel this deep relationship. But Guru is always ahead. No matter what relationship we have, Guru is always ahead. Just like that pilot of the plane. Hare Krishna.
Вот этот пример интересный с самолетом.
This example is wonderful
Получается, что как бы пилот и пассажиры
with the
тоже
plane.
команда.
It means the pilot and the team, the passengers, is one team, and they all fly
В какой-то момент
together.
может такое быть, пилот выйдет из кабины и скажет, что-то пошло не так.
There might be one moment then
Говорит, сейчас, говорит, молитесь.
when the pilot is gonna come out and say something is wrong with the plane, and he would say, start your praying. So we are falling down, but we need all to pray, and still we have this calmness.
Но у нас остросюжетный Шримад
So
Бхагаватам
it's a good example, but still
простите,
there are such
больше ничем помочь
moments.
не могу.
So it's just like Shrimad Bhagavatam.
Очень, да.
Sometimes it is said that you pray, but I will
Да,
not
но у нас
be able to help you by any other means.
Последний момент он дождется этого самого последнего момента, да, испытает все наши чувства.
We need to understand that
Самый последний момент,
Guru is going to
все так раз еще больше поверят в пилота,
try
в команду.
our feelings very good, and in the last moment, he's gonna take care of us.
Это обычная схема, как бы вот,
Just like the pilot taking his measures and
да, вот,
saving the plane.
Кришна самый последний момент.
And Krishna is revealing himself in the last moment.
Спасибо.
Но это,
Okay,
наверное,
thank you.
момент питания, да? Это уже развитие отношений с духовным учителем.
But this is more about the development of this relationship with the spiritual master. If you have this sentimental faith, then it is being tested, and your spiritual master say you need to pray, and you understand that if Guru says you need to pray, then you pray. This way, spiritual master is seeing whether you have faith or not. So this is dedication. Once my spiritual master said, on my question, I said, I've read all the books, and he said, you need to leave everything. Imagine yourself living your life and having a job, and he's saying, you need to leave everything and move to the temple. When I left the darshan, I thought maybe he misunderstood my question. And I thought, who is gonna take care of me? So I had these doubts for 2 months. But when Guru Maharaj is giving these instructions, it's very heavy. So this is the only thing you think about, even though you didn't have any plans. So after 2 months of this consideration, one day I was lying on a bed and I thought, or not me, the God, he was saying, what if you leave your body right now? What do you think? And I thought, yeah, maybe it's right, because I would be surrounded by the devotees. Only 10 years after I realized he gave me these instructions, it was so good. He gave me the strength along with these instructions to fulfill it. And this way I realized I've spent 10 years and I had no job of 10 years within these 10 years, and I'm totally fine. So it is more talking about this development of the relationship. And the spiritual master, he was always saying, if I give you the instruction and you want to follow it, you need to try it first. Just like walking on the ice. First you try it with your step, whether this ice is trustful. But it is very hard
Но
to develop your
вот
relationship with the
близкие
spiritual master if you're
отношения,
always in your comfort
это
zone.
вот самые близкие
Close
отношения, я
relationship.
считаю, самые близкие. Как-то так. Хари Кришна.
Спасибо.
Мне вот вспомнилось, что Шрила Прабхупада говорил, что твой духовный учитель
I remember Srila
всегда
Prabhupada
прав, даже если не прав.
was saying that spiritual master is always right even when he is not right.
Получается, что
So when the disciple
он
is
это
getting
делает иногда
instructions
формально, и получается, что он
and he's
не
getting
готов
these
его выполнить.
formal
И, может быть,
instructions and
заблудится
he's
в
not
правильном
ready
смысле
to
этого наставления.
fulfill these
Но
instructions.
если дает это
But
наставление
if Guru is
шакти
given
в
this
выполнении,
instruction, he's given
и
this
кажется,
Shakti
что я
along
вообще
with
это
it.
могу сделать,
It seems like I cannot do it, but still he can do it thanks to this Shakti of Guru.
Chaitanya Charan prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Мои покорные, всем преданным Харе Кришна. Можно я дам свое сравнение по отношению к духовному учителя? Мне он в тот момент, да и вообще, был всегда как огнем, к которому трудно приблизиться и жить запросто.
I was always as a fire,
Нет таких близких отношений, дружеских.
very hard to approach, to
Почему? Потому что ты знаешь, что
that is burning, without making any close relationship.
ты совершенно недостоин даже
Because you would think
его лотосных стопах.
you're not
Харе Кришна.
good enough to have this close relationship.
Это глубокое смирение.
Thank you, Tridandi. This is a very
Спасибо.
Um,
Такой пример.
humble attitude. It's a good example.
Марадж, продолжим еще вот эту тему или
Should we
вопросы?
continue this topic, Guru Maharaj, or we can
Вот. Какую тему?
give some other questions?
Гуру Чандрика, что
Please
вы
come
хотите
here,
сказать?
Guru
Что
Chandrika
Чандрика
Mataji
приветствует её, то она
would like
отвечает.
to say something.
Я по поводу того вопроса, интересно,
Regarding this question
гуру
about Guru
ходит и говорит,
or Pilate who is coming out saying that now it's the time for praying.
от вас зависит. Ведь это
It depends on you now.
меня
I have the question.
смерти.
This is the moment of death, right? Guru Maharaj is saying now you need to pray. Now I present you to Krishna and you need to do it yourself. So practically, is it just like this, or is it upon us or the
Конечно, вот этот
spiritual master
реальная аналогия,
role
да,
now?
там,
Well,
аналогия.
yeah,
Потому
this is interesting, but at the same time we need to understand this analogy is material analogy with the plane.
это лишь была, ну, как бы часть
It was
истинная, а часть
part of it was real and part of it was like material.
часть истинная, часть как бы вот
And
реальной стороны.
the Prabhu, he continued this analogy.
То
Partially it
он
was
находится не только
spiritual,
в
partially
теле
material.
самолета.
So we should understand that the pilot is not only in the peacock, only in the pit, pilot pit of the plane. Talking about the plane without material concepts, we need to understand that if something's going wrong, we are being liberated right now. That's it. We reached our destination. It doesn't matter if we are there or not. The doors are open and the plane is disappearing and we need to get out. Because this is spiritual analogy and we have the material
точку предназначения,
example.
достичь ее. В начале жизни, в конце жизни.
We can reach the destination with the spiritual master. It could be in the beginning of life or in the middle of life or in the end of life.
Назначение может быть в любой точке нашей жизни.
And it can connect us with the God. It can appear in any
С точки зрения тут
point of our life. So it's not a problem.
Просто такой он многогранный. Я
It's,
одно увидел,
I'm sorry,
другое увидел. Я говорю, сейчас
it has
Да.
so many sides to it.
команды,
My question was more like team-wise.
Да, да.
это ученики,
So Guru Maharaj is like the part of the team,
далее, пример, например, польский тур, да, как вот он там
the disciples and friends, and just like the Polish tour
и он как бы сливается.
of Indraduna Maharaj.
Кто-то даже в нем, может быть, даже гуру не видит иногда, а просто как
Some of the
как наставник.
of the disciples, they don't even see the Guru sometimes.
Просто отношения там настолько они как бы вот в самолете то же самое. Знаете, что
Because,
все полностью
but it's been supported by the relationship. So with this plane analogy, it's the same. Everybody's trusting the pilot.
Хороший пример, правда.
Yeah, it's a good example with the team. Yes.
Так,
Так, Мададжана, тяните руку, да?
Сейчас преданно очень отношениях. Скажите, пожалуйста, а вот это нужно как-то культивировать?
Do we need to cultivate
А если это не
this relationship? And what if we don't cultivate and it comes
вот эти вот
with the wrong effect?
учителем, который сейчас старшая преданная?
What are you talking about? The relationship with the spiritual master. Well, the spiritual master relationship with him,
отношения уже есть.
it's there already. The moment we step on this path, we already have this
Уже есть.
relationship.
Есть вопрос еще о Шишгупта. Вот руку.
Chandra Charan, Sagar Maharaj, ваше шествие всех преданных.
Hare Krishna, all the devotees,
У меня тоже было предложение.
Chaitanya Prabhu and Sagar Maharaj.
Отношения с духовным учителем. Я тоже вспомнил одну историю.
I also remember one story regarding relationship with spiritual master.
Как переходит мост, один мост очень слабый,
When
он трясет.
people are crossing the bridge and the bridge is not good enough,
Не крепче, чтобы ты упал из этого места.
and
Сынок говорит,
father is saying,
не держи крепче,
you need
потому что
to hold to me
если я тебя
firmly
держу,
so
есть
you don't fall.
вероятность, что я могу отпустить руку.
And
Ты
son
меня
says,
держишь, тогда вот точно мы
no,
пройдем
you
этот путь.
hold me,
Также с духовным
because if I slip,
учителем,
you will
я
be
думаю,
able
что
to hold me,
Кришна и
and
духовный учитель
I might have
нам
not enough
помогают
strength.
в обществе. Вы же в начале лекции сказали,
So
что
it's just like that.
преданники дают.
We are getting help
Сам Кришна
in
и
this
ты
society.
говоришь,
And in the beginning of your lecture, you said
вместе
the,
теперь,
the devotees in this society is
преданные
Krishna
выходят
himself.
из искона, как
So when you
всегда,
leave
Егорья мать или там Радакунт,
to some other places,
вот такой, ну что Кришна реально или духовный учитель, они реально держат нас.
then
Очень хороший пример.
it's a good example of society holding us, or Guru holding us,
Вопросы из онлайна.
the way
Вы
Krishna
сейчас
would do.
учителя будете продолжать.
Да, теперь вопросы можно.
Let's get some questions now
Вот задают такой вопрос. Если
from the
манtra
chat.
Харе Кришна не идет на душе, можно...
Еще раз.
Если
Say it
мантра
again.
Харе Кришна не идет на душе, может означать, что просто есть другие мантры, которые больше идут кому-то и
If Hare Krishna mantra is not working,
такой вопрос.
are there any mantras that might help me? It means the person didn't receive Maha Mantra from the trustful source. Because other mantras is more difficult to chant than Hare Krishna mantra. There should be an individual approach discussing this topic. There is a reason why a person cannot chant Hare Krishna. He might have not enough faith in the process. Or physically, he cannot wake up early. Or he's not ready for spiritual life because he's too carried away by his personal material life and he has some difficulties. And mantra is not helping him in any way to bring back health condition, good health, or some close relative. This is the way he can understand his spiritual life. So he might have some material obstacles that prevent him. But do you think that other mantras will help him to solve this problem? I don't see the solution in this. In any way, you need to address God, whether you're living good or bad. If you're looking for self-realization, if you're not, then there would be a reason for it as well. As far as material desire is concerned, I don't know these mantras that can fulfill your material desires. All these mantras are hidden in this world. It's only Hare Krishna mantra that works in this time. Well, prayer is also the holy name, the name of God. But now we're talking about Hare Krishna mantra because it cannot be compared to anything in its power. And all the Shastras are supporting it, our experience as well. So, you need to continue on chanting and hoping with the time you're gonna get this taste. If you cannot chant for a long time, then you need to have association and have some kirtana. For someone, it's more easy to get this feel in kirtan. You can come to programs and chant the holy names in kirtan. I don't recommend to apply any other mantras because Hare Krishna mantra is the best. Knowing that life is temporary and it's saving you, this mantra is saving you from life and death, then it would be, you would be regulated by this knowledge. But if a devotee has, if a man has no such a taste, it's understood, but the initiated devotees should chant, should continue chanting. The devotee said that you have the relationship with Guru, but you don't feel Guru's presence in your life. Always when I chant Hare Krishna mantra or I do kirtan, I always feel the presence of my Guru Maharaj. What do you mean you don't feel Guru? His physical presence you might not feel, but his spiritual presence, it should be always there. But if they still saying that they think Guru doesn't need me, or what should I answer him? It's a question of quality of your chanting. You think, does holy name need me or not? it depends on my quality of chanting, because material obstacles are working as well. If I am not settled in the material world, Guru would not help you with these material problems on distance. Krishna is arranging for every one of us these obstacles, this situation, so we proceed better on our spiritual path. If we're attentively chanting every day, then we would feel great every day, and we would stand these Maya attacks. And this feel of that you don't, they don't need you, it might depend on temporary things like this pandemic situation or whatever. This is just temporary. Thank you so much. I understood you. Vrindavan Thakurani Mataji is giving a question. It's going to be our last question. When you're staying in ISKCON or living it, it's up to Krishna, you said. But when we were in spiritual world, we had some independence there, right? We could choose. Where is our independence to stay or not? Why is it up to Krishna, not up to us? Because we should have some choice. Given, yeah, you're right. We have some independence, but Krishna has more power. If someone is doing bad, and we need to punish him, but the guy says, "But I have some independence. Why do you punish me?" And yes, but it's just like a child. Parents, they punish him because he's independent, and they have more independence. Why wouldn't he? You need to ask Krishna this question. He is free to do whatever he wants. He knows the things we don't know. When I enter Krishna consciousness or not entering it, taking the book or not taking the book, is it up to Krishna again? It depends on you and Krishna both. You're free to decide. That's why it's not easy to understand. That's why you continue to ask this question, because two factors are working: your independence and Krishna's will together. In this relationship, it is really hard to understand what is the essence of this is the essence of Krishna consciousness. It's not working separately, it's working together. The will of Krishna and my independence together. Now you're gonna think for a long time about it. Thank you all. Jai Prabhupada.